It will be the first time they're meeting in the Oval Office since that awkward and tense exchange back in February. The stakes could not be higher as President Zelensky's in Washington for crucial talks with President Trump to try and bring about an end to the war in Ukraine. In today's talks, Mr. Zelensky will be supported by European leaders who are travelling to Washington. Britain's Sir Keir Starmer will be there, France's President Emmanuel Macron, Germany's Chancellor Friedrich Merz, Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, and the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte are also attending. And we are hearing that European leaders will be meeting with President Zelensky before those White House talks. Meanwhile, ABC News is reporting that President Trump will be accompanied by his Vice President J.D. Vance. Well, all of this is just days after President Trump hosted Russia's Vladimir Putin in the US state of Alaska. After that summit, no ceasefire was agreed, but both leaders suggested that great progress had been made. Now, President Trump's been posting on his social platform, setting out his expectation for today's talks. He insisted that President Zelensky could end the war with Russia almost immediately if he wanted to. Or he can continue to fight, he said. The president also appeared to rule out Kyiv joining NATO as part of any peace deal. He posted, "No going into NATO by Ukraine. Some things never change." Our World News correspondent Joe Winwood assesses what's at stake.
For all the talk of peace, there was little to be found in Kharkiv last night. At least 2 children were amongst the dead when Russian drones hit this residential block at about 5 in the morning. Many people are still missing. It's a stark reminder of what is at stake today as President Zelensky prepares to meet President Trump in Washington. "I'm grateful to the President of the United States for the invitation," he wrote on social media. "We all share a strong desire to end this war quickly and reliably, and peace must be lasting, not like it was years ago when Ukraine was forced to give up Crimea and part of our east, and Putin simply used it as a springboard for a new attack, or when Ukraine was given so-called security guarantees in 1994, but they didn't work." And those 2 issues, land and security guarantees, were clearly discussed when President Trump met Vladimir Putin in Alaska on Friday. It's believed Russia's president has agreed to stop the fighting in exchange for swathes of territory he's long desired but never captured. And what about security guarantees, specifically those provided by joining the NATO alliance? Last night, that was explicitly ruled out by Donald Trump, who posted on social media, "President Zelensky can end the war almost immediately if he wants to, or he can continue to fight." Remember how it started? No getting back Obama-given Crimea 12 years ago without a shot being fired, and no going into NATO by Ukraine. Some things never change. But while joining NATO may be off the table, along with the protection offered by Article 5, its commitment to collective defence, that does not mean that security guarantees have been ruled out, it seems. The US is reportedly willing to offer something akin to Article 5,
which is one of the real reasons why Ukraine wants to be in NATO. We sort of were able to bypass that and get an agreement that the United States could offer Article 5 protection, which was the first time we had ever heard the Russians agree to that.
We're trying to solve a problem.
Donald Trump's proposals will be put to President Zelensky when he visits the White House later today.
Remember this.
No doubt memories of his last painful visit will be fresh on his mind. They were also clearly in the thoughts of European leaders who, keen to avoid another diplomatic disaster, have made the extraordinary, even unprecedented decision to accompany him en masse. Sir Keir Starmer is going, as is Emmanuel Macron of France and Friedrich Merz of Germany, along with Giorgia Meloni of Italy. It's a clear message from Europe. The continent stands with Ukraine and will have a voice. Also there, the European Commission President and the head of NATO. But while they prepare for talks, the clean-up in Kharkiv continues. Whatever happens today, it's unlikely to bring an end to the fighting anytime soon, but it could help determine when and how this war does come to an end. Joe Winwood, BBC News.
Well, ahead of those meetings, I've been speaking to Jan Lipavsky, the Foreign Affairs Minister of the Czech Republic, who's been speaking to his European counterparts. I asked him what the conversations have been like ahead of today's meeting.
So my intention was to make sure that, let's say, we have the same notes in Europe and that we have the same understanding of the situation. Czechia is a proud member of the Coalition of the Willing, and our Prime Minister participated in two online calls. One was before the Alaska meeting, and the second one was, let's say, to debrief and to understand what the next steps should be. And this was, let's say, to support our activity on this platform. And I think everyone, basically, most of the phone calls happened on Saturday, were looking forward the Sunday Coalition of the Willing meeting and today's events in DC. So, of course, I'm also very much interested what will happen in DC. And I hope that the outcomes of this meeting will give us more understanding how should we proceed with possible peace negotiations.
Mr. Lipavsky, as a result of those conversations, what would you say is the biggest overall negotiating point or red line for European leaders at the moment?
I think there is a common understanding in Europe that we have to support Ukraine in a sense of possible future security guarantees. This is, let's say, the main theme of discussions. Also, there is a clear understanding that we should not reward Russia for its imperialistic policies, for its imperialism. And this needs to be preserved in the negotiations. So let's say that we might be shifting from the discussion on the immediate ceasefire, which was the discussion up to Alaska, to discussion on a possible peace deal. But this is something much more complicated. And for me, it's hard to grasp the situation when we discuss peace and we see the Russian bombs falling on Ukraine cities daily.
You said before that you don't think Russia's President Putin is serious about peace. Are you concerned about some of the language that you've heard from President Trump and, of course, that warm welcome he gave Mr. Putin in his home country of the US in Alaska last week?
So I'm praising Mr. Trump for the attempt. It's up to him what is the setup that he chose. But on the other side, I really think that the Putin is playing for time, and he wants to gain maybe more territory, maybe to play for time, but still he is waging war against Ukraine. So if Putin would like to stop the conflict, he can do it right now.
There are clearly differences, though, because you just said if Putin would like to stop the conflict, he could do it right now.
Exactly.
We just read that post out from President Trump on Truth Social. He says if President Zelensky wants to stop the conflict, he could do it right now. Do you think we could be in a situation where Europe and the US are at loggerheads over how to resolve this?
I really don't want to predict what will be the outcome of today's meeting, but we have a strong European position and united position, given the fact that it was united on the Coalition of the Willing. And really, we don't want to avert Russia for its imperialism.
But with respect, you have a strong...
So this must remain our main position.
I just want to get the answer to this question, though, because, of course, you have a strong European position. We've seen the unity around Mr. Zelensky from the Coalition of the Willing, but we haven't seen the same consistency from President Trump. So my question again is, are you concerned that this could end up being Europe v. the US in the end because of the differing positions?
I think the word concern is not the right one. I think we have to do everything to prevent such a scenario.
That's Jan Lipavsky, the Foreign Affairs Minister of the Czech Republic.